Turn one soul ring.
Accidentally unplugged the mic and I just plugged it back in, and then the my line in Audacity was like way thicker than usual, so I think I was getting a bunch of feedback. So
Yeah.
That's
but it looks like we're good.
That's the one scenario where thickness is an issue, or at least
Yeah.
too thick is an issue. You want to kind of just right down the middle, I would say. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the show. This is Turn One Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
Hey, I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
And today on the show, we are going to be wrapping up our Kaldheim set review with the gold and land cards from the set that we're interested in particular. This isn't going to be an exhaustive review of these cards as usual. Before we get to the gold cards, though, we have a couple of things to do. First up, we are going to announce the winner of our episode 100 Verisol the Split Current Commander Deck giveaway. So I do have a list of the entries, and I'll post a video of this on Instagram around the time that this episode drops. So I'll just get my random number generator set up here. Everybody's excited. Okay.
Wee!
Boop, boop, boop. Okay, doing it.
Drum roll.
Number generator, click. All right, generate. It's generating. It's done. That was fast. Okay, and the winner is number 4. We have Thomas Agen 01. You are the winner, dear boy,
Nice.
of the Verisol the Split Current Commander Deck giveaway. It's a full Commander deck. If you did not listen to that
Sweet.
episode, go check it out. It's fully sleeved. It's in a deck box, and we will send that to you wherever you live. So like I said, we'll post this on Instagram, and you can let us know your info, where to send it, and we will send it to you. Thank you to everyone who entered into the giveaway, who listened to the episode, who listens to all our episodes, honestly. And it was a lot of fun to do that, and I'm excited to do it again. And, you know, I was thinking like we could do it at episode 200, but we could do it before then. You know, we don't have to wait that long. So
Who knows?
yeah,
Great.
who knows?
Thanks, Thomas.
Tommy boy. All right. So before we get to the first gold card today, Eric, you have to let all of our listeners know how they can get in touch with us.
I think they can find us on Instagram at Turn One Soul Ring the podcast. If you want to get a hold of us directly, we have an email address, turnonesoulringthepodcast@gmail.com. We also throw everything up onto the YouTubes. Search us out. Turn One Soul Ring the podcast is the best way to find us, and we have a Patreon page. So if you really like our show, kind of like what we're doing here, check us out over on the Patreon page. It's patreon.com/turn1soulring.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to get to the first gold card here. It is Agar the Freezing Flame. It's 1, a blue, and a red for a 3/3 legendary giant wizard. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you controlled dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card.
Oh yeah. Buddy.
Yeah. So if you're just doing excess damage in some sort of way, like through combat with the probably your giants.
Likely.
Well, unless
Yeah.
you got some thick wizards.
It can happen, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is great. Even like Agar himself, like as a 3/3, can probably get you some card draws going. Because then again, like if somebody wants to chump block this so they don't die or something, like you still get to draw a card, which is super good.
Oh yeah, this is sort of like this reminds me of Overkill from Hearthstone. It's nice to get a payoff for doing excess damage. So much of the time, it's just kind of it's just left on the dance floor. It's sort of like when you have leftover. it's like you sort of feel bad about it. The same way you kind of feel bad about being mana inefficient, right? Like leaving mana in your mana pool and letting it fizzle. And of course, we don't get punished the same way our Magic forebearers did, but it still hurts emotionally. Next up, we have Arnie Slays the Troll. Arnie. It's a green and a red for a saga, our first saga, target creature you control. Let me just refresh everybody's memory on sagas. So as this saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter, and you sacrifice after the third saga. So it has three. I don't know, what would you guys call these? Chapters?
3. I guess it's a lore counter, so 3 lores. I don't know, chapters.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're referred to as chapters. Yeah,
chapters.
Yeah.
So chapter 1 is target creature you control fights up to one target creature you don't control. And chapter 2 is add a red to your mana pool, put 2 1/1 counters on up to one target creature you control. And chapter 3 is you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control.
So definitely in like limited, this is a really good card. You're probably green-red, so you have some bigger creatures. Obviously, you usually have the fight spells. So this is a fight spell that just does more on your second and third turns. So it's like, yeah, why not?
Next up, we have Ascent of the Worthy. It's 1, a black, and a white. And chapter 1 and 2 are the same. They are choose a creature you control. Until your next turn, all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control is dealt to that creature instead. And chapter 3 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a flying counter on it. That creature is an angel warrior in addition to its other types.
So, I mean, this being uncommon is going to show up somewhat often in limited, but it's not that great. Having to wait 3 turns until you're able to return something from your graveyard to the battlefield is difficult at times.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, but in Commander, like if you're playing, like an Orzhov Enchantress deck, or even like a 5-color Enchantress deck, it might be fun to include just having that ability to recur something in a few turns. But I was kind of wishing that the first 2 chapters were more of like a pariah effect that also considered damage coming at you. Like if it was able to redirect damage to a creature that's being dealt to you, that would be pretty cool. Just to buffer your life total for a few turns. But the fact that it's redirecting damage from other creatures means that you have to have enough blockers to redirect that damage if you're choosing to block, right? So a bit of an awkward card. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it in a lot of scenarios, but the fact that the creature comes back with a flying counter on it, it's pretty cool.
You can also do some fun little things. If you got a stuffy doll out there,
yep,
you can choose the stuffy doll, and then like all the damage gets dealt to him, which gets dealt to whoever your target was.
We have Battle for Bredegard next. It's 1, a green and a white for another saga. Chapter 1 is create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. Chapter 2 is create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. And chapter 3 is choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens you control with different names. For each of them, create a token that's a copy of it. So you get to, if you have one of each, you get to double up your tokens.
Yep.
Yeah. This is great in like any kind of token deck. If you're in these colors, run this card.
Yeah, pretty nice payoff with chapter 3, and it's nice that it hits artifact tokens as well. So if you've got a treasure or some other form of artifact token, like you get a nice little bonus there.
We have Battle of Frost and Fire next. It is another saga. It's 3 blue-red, and chapter 1 is Battle of Chapter 1 is Battle of Frost and Fire, deals 4 damage to each non-giant creature and each planeswalker. Chapter 2 is Scry 3, and chapter 3 is whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater this turn, draw 2 cards, then discard a card.
This looks like a lot of fun. I'm looking at Agar as far as where I would want to slot this if I was running an Agar deck in Commander.
Yeah.
And I think this would fit perfectly there. Just looks like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this card a lot.
Yeah, big mana payoff. Woo!
and like even in a game of Commander, like 4 damage can clear the board.
And
even hitting planeswalkers, that can be very effective.
Yeah, and obviously, like if you're running like a Giants deck, like it's gonna be more or less one-sided. So even if it doesn't like sweep the board clean, at least it's gonna make a significant impact, and the fact that it does the damage on the first chapter, like as soon as it hits the battlefield, I think that's really what makes it so strong, right? Like it's not like one of those sagas you have to wait a few turns until you get a decent effect. It hits the board right away and has an immediate effect on the game.
I like to scry 3.
That's nice too, yeah, because it's like, you know, it is like a board wipe, and then you get to, you know, you're not replenishing your hand, but you're almost drawing a card. You know, you get to plan for the next few turns while everybody's rebuilding, especially if you've got a bunch of giants on the battlefield.
Oh, straight up, yeah.
Next up, we have another saga. It's the Bears of Lityara. It's a green and a blue. Chapter 1 is create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. Chapter 2 is any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control have base power and toughness 4/4. And Chapter 3 is choose up to one target creature or planeswalker. Each creature with power 4 or greater you control deals damage equal to its power to that permanent.
This is kind of a funny card. Like, it's like it definitely, like, it's funny because like it makes a 2/2, but then like the second chapter is permanent. Like it's not until end of turn. So all of your shapeshifters are now just 4/4s. And then it's interesting because it gives like green blue. It's like a better kind of fight spell in the end because it's not fighting. It's just damage equal to its power.
Yeah.
So your creatures are kind of safe. You can just kind of like remove something.
Yeah, and notably, Chapter 3 counts all of your creatures, like whether they're shapeshifters or not. Anything that
I
has
didn't notice
power
that.
4 or greater, will bite your opponent's creature or planeswalker. I mean, it does target. Like it's not like a sweeping effect, but
Yeah.
you know, it is kind of like pseudo removal. So it's just a little bit of a cherry on top there.
Totally.
But yeah, like if you're running like a low to the ground shapeshifter changeling kind of tribal deck, this could be pretty fun for that base power toughness 4/4, assuming that your changelings are weaker than 4/4, because otherwise you'd be downgrading them.
Yeah.
It's also funny to think like I haven't looked into the story of this set too much, but you know, are the bears just like revolting, or are the bears shapeshifters like the Bears of Lityara, and they're just like turning on their masters, or
yeah, I'm pretty sure the Lityara are the like the tribe of shapeshifters.
Okay.
So it's they're just bears today.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's a good animal to be. I like it.
Feeling Beary.
We have Binding of the Old Gods next. It is another saga. It's 2 black-green. Chapter 1 is destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. Chapter 2 is search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. And Chapter 3 is creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn.
So this is a removal spell that then does more for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes it pretty good, and it's also destroying target non-land permanent. So you can hit pretty much anything that's giving you trouble with this guy.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, I think the thing I like most about this kind of saga, like the way these kind of sagas are designed, similar to like Battle of Frost and Fire, where it has an immediate effect. Like, this is not a saga that your opponents are going to necessarily want to go after once it's hit the battlefield, because like it's not that much value to destroy a saga that's going to get them a forest and then give their creatures Death Touch, right? I know, like playing with Eldest Reborn, there's like the last chapter being bringing something back from a graveyard onto the battlefield. Like that could be a big threat. So sometimes it doesn't stick around for the full 3 chapters. But just being able to like come down, immediately destroy something, and then get you like some incremental value following that without being like a substantial threat, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it's a really nice design that way. I definitely really like it.
We have the Blood Sky Massacre next. It is 1 black-red for another saga. Chapter 1 is create a 2/3 red demon berserker creature token with menace. Chapter 2 is whenever a berserker attacks this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. And Chapter 3 is add a red for each berserker you control. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. It's still weird for me to read cards where they say like just add and then the mana symbol and then nothing else. Like I'm so used to add, this to your mana pool.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I'm still not used to it. But or it's not that I'm not used to it. I'm used to it. It's just it doesn't look right to me. But anyways, what do we think of this saga? Is that a guy's tattooed arm in the art?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Or a
Yeah, so it's a
muscly
little bit
lady?
different, like art-wise, compared to the other sagas for that, right? Because most of them are like, some sort of tapestry or an artifact thing or some sort of like artistic physical piece. Well, this is like art that's like on a person's body, so it's cool. Black red.
Yeah,
We're
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, if you care about berserkers, this is going to be awesome value through and through. So yeah, Berserker Tribal, go for it.
We have Fall of the Imposter next. It's 1, a green and a white for a saga. Chapter 1 and 2 are the same, and they are put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. And Chapter 3 is exile a creature with the greatest power among creatures target opponent controls.
So this is kind of where like Riley was saying the best part of it's at the end.
Yeah.
But this is also this is a really
it's,
interesting one because it's getting rid of the
it's tough. Like
greatest power among creatures. Yeah, so it's gonna make your opponent like not want to play their big threat because it's just gonna get removed right away, and they're gonna want to wait for this to go off and then cast their big thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's usually how it plays out. I did have one game of Limited where my opponent chained together 2 of these. It made it a little bit awkward to play around.
Oof.
and fortunately I managed to get them to discard the 3rd one they had in their hand for,
Oh, boy.
for some reason they had
Oh
3
my
in their hand.
god.
So in
Wow.
that particular scenario they were pretty good, like if you're able to layer this effect, but otherwise it's not totally worth it because it is fairly easy to play around.
Right.
In a game of Commander, however, like if you care a lot about having those +1/+1 counters, it might be playable. And just having that exile effect at a later turn that you could target at any one of your opponents, maybe it becomes a political tool at that point. I don't know, might be interesting.
Because
I'd play it and see how it plays out.
Yeah, if 2 creatures have the same power, at that point you would get to choose, right?
Yeah.
Assuming they both have they're tied for greatest power is what I mean.
Yeah, if they're tied, then you'd get to choose. Yeah.
Oh, I hate ties. Next up, we have Furja, Judge of Valor. It's 2 white, black for a legendary angel cleric, 2/4 with flying and lifelink. Whenever you cast your 2nd spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. That's pretty nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is a really cool card because it's like, oh, you want to be playing like smaller weenie stuff, and if you do that, you can keep refilling your hand this way as well. So it really helps itself out.
Yeah, or fill up your yard even faster, right?
That too,
If you
yeah.
want to be pulling
Get
things
some
out
like
of there.
mass.
But that would be more of like I guess I'm thinking of it for Commander. That would be more of a delicate balance, right? You want to be putting big things into your graveyard, but you want to still be able to ensure that you can cast that 2nd spell each turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends how you want to build it, but like you could even do like a swarm style deck where like there are some reanimation spells that bring out multiple little things. So if that's your top end where you're just bringing out a bunch of little threats and try to swarm your enemies that way, that might be fun.
Okay, Swarm Strategy. Check it out. Next up, we have Furja's Retribution. It's 1 white, black for a saga. Chapter 1 is create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. Chapter 2 is until end of turn, angels you control gain tap, destroy target creature with power less than this creature's power. And Chapter 3 is angels you control gain double strike until end of turn. Oh, these all seem good.
Yes.
Yeah, this is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, this card's a house. I mean, at its worst, you're getting like a 4-mana 4/4 flying vigilance angel. Like that's fine. And then from there, you're just like wrecking your opponent.
Yeah, and it's like if my opponent used removal on this, you're like, sure, I still got my 4/4. Like,
Yeah.
So it's already over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pack them up.
We have forging the Tyrite sword next. It's 1 red white for a saga. Chapter 1 and 2 are the same. They are create a treasure token, and chapter 3 is search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library.
I like how it's like, yeah, this is going to tutor for equipment, but for those people that have the Halvar in their deck, that's like just like a little bit of extra goodness, you know?
Delicious gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally had like in limited, I used this to tutor out the like 1 red helmet.
Yeah.
That was legit.
It's it's a pretty slow card to play in limited, but in Commander I think it would be pretty fun just having a little bit of like early game ramp, in the first 2 chapters, and then being able to power out a solid piece of equipment. I think it would, yeah, it could be a fun include. Obviously not the most competitive version. Like I'd if I had the option to, I'd probably still run like an Open the Armory over this.
Or Steel
Yeah.
or Steel Shaper's Gift.
Yeah, Steel Shaper's Gift is getting pricier, but definitely
I know.
a stronger option as well.
Yeah.
But just getting those 2 extra treasures is pretty cool.
We have Harald, King of Skemfar, next. It's 1 black-green for a 3/2 elf warrior, legendary creature with menace. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an elf, warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Excuse me.
Yeah, if you're playing Golgari Elves, like, I mean, obviously this could lead your deck if you wanted to, but I think it's a solid include in the 99 of like an Elf Dredge deck or something like that. Just being able to replace itself and being like a reasonable threat on its own.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in that scenario where you can keep replaying it, I could definitely see putting this in that type of deck. But just like on its own for that one-time effect, I don't know if. I mean, it is only 3 mana, so it is pretty decent. But if you can repeat that ability, then you're really happy.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Harald Unites the Elves next. It's 2 black-green for a saga. Chapter 1 is mill 3 cards. You may put an elf or Tyvar card from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Chapter 2 is put a 1/1 counter on each elf you control. And Chapter 3 is whenever an elf you control attacks this turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it wants you to play elves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much spells it on the card. It's uniting elves, so
Yeah, like with Elf Ball, you can probably get to a position where you're like, oh, I attack and kill 3 of my opponent's creatures.
yeah.
And then get in with damage.
That 3rd chapter makes it really hard for your opponents to block.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact that on the previous turn your whole team just got buffed up with +1/+1 counters, so
Yeah.
yeah, seems like a pretty reasonable threat.
I like this card.
Next up, we have Immer's Sturm.
Yep.
I think that that's like a Scandinavian.
It's German.
German Immersturm Predator. It's 2 black-red for a vampire dragon 3/3 with flying. Whenever it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and put a 1/1 counter on it. Sacrifice another creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it.
Yeah, this can be a threat that just like doesn't leave the board.
It reminds me of
you have
sorry, it reminds me of what was that vampire that got indestructible when you sacrificed a creature? Oh, why am I blanking on it?
Yeheni.
Yeheni. Yeah, reminds me.
Yeheni, yeah.
Yeah, like a flying Yeheni.
Yeah, and this one, like, I guess it reliably gets +1s, where Yeheni, you need, like, your opponent's creature to die.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, like, every single time you attack, you're just, like, making them bigger.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, like even the turn you play
Oh
it,
yeah, I
like
guess like
it only considers when it becomes tapped. So
yeah.
like considering that the new kind of regenerate template, this whole indestructible and tap it kind of thing, you could sacrifice a creature, exile something, and then tap it, put a counter on it. So yeah,
Why
pretty
do
good
you
stuff.
why do you think they changed the templating like that and moved away from regenerate? Because it's not because regenerate's complicated, right? Like this isn't. I wouldn't
Well-
say that this is any more complicated than regenerate.
Well, regenerate was kind of designed.
It's a little awkward.
Yeah, regenerate's a little awkward in the sense that it was designed when damage used the stack, so you'd actually like respond to the creature dying by regenerating it. But when that changed and you had to now do this whole like roundabout way of regenerating by putting on regenerating shields, so to speak, like it's just not intuitive for newer players.
Okay, that's
Right?
fair. Yeah,
I think that's the argument for the whole regenerating field thing not being really how regeneration works, because
right.
I know when I started playing Magic, like I always thought like, oh, he dies, goes to the graveyard, then I regenerate him, right? Because he's regenerating.
Right. As the name would have you believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it never goes to the graveyard, and then you have somebody reading regenerate, and then you're like, I tap it and remove it from combat as well.
Yeah.
What if it's not in combat?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
No, I guess that's fair, and I guess I've I guess I'm just a victim of when I started playing, because that's just how it always was. So
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair, and I mean, I guess I can't say that it made perfect sense to me when I first started playing, but the people that were teaching me how to play were like, look, that's just how it works. I'm like, oh yeah.
Just deal with it, bud.
you're like, it works this way.
Okay, great. It doesn't lose any of its any of its auras, because this was before equipments. Great. Let's keep playing.
Yeah.
So next up we have Invasion of the Giants. It's a blue and a red for a saga. Chapter 1 is Scry 2. Chapter 2 is Draw a Card. Then you may reveal a giant card from your hand. When you do, Invasion of the Giants deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Chapter 3 is the next giant spell you cast this turn costs 2 less to cast.
Just good in giants.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a slow preordain that gives you a little bit of a ritual boost, assuming you're planning on playing a giant.
Yeah. Your Agar can cost 1 less.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we have Carter Doom's Scourge. It's got
Carter.
Carter. What is this? What is this, an episode of ER? Come
Cargo
on.
dur.
So it's 2 a black and a red for a 4/3 legendary demon berserker. When it enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Whenever I read that, the each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, it always makes me think of Extort, and how that's how things like this should always be written, even though I know it's like super overpowered. Like and you gain life equal to the life lost this way.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress.
I think there's a common theme in Kaldheim, at least for me, is that the uncommon legendary creatures seem to be like exceptionally more exciting to think about building around than like the rares ever felt for me. So I don't know. Carter is another one of those legendary commanders that it feels like a goat effect mixed with like some combat. Like there's some weird enchantments from like Invasion and other older blocks where like it really messes with how combat works, or like creatures are sacrificed if they get into combat kind of thing, or you choose how creatures how the blocking creatures deal damage or whatever it is. Like it's I just think like building around like a combat step deck that messes with how the rules of combat work would be really fun with a card like Carter at the helm.
Yeah, and you
Cool.
wouldn't upset anybody doing that.
It would be so funny.
Well, it would be funny, but I can see, like, you know, going back to game stores and playing Paper Magic again, and like, you know, this guy that just bought his, you know, at that point it's probably gonna be like I don't know, Innistrad werewolves and whatever, Commander Precon, and you're coming down and playing a deck that like messes with combat, and he's like, I don't even know how regular combat works.
Yeah. Just be like, guys, check out this sick dragon build, and I'm like, cargo dur.
Oh man, we've been spending too much time alone. Okay. See, now I can't. This is like another Crick situation. I can't even say the name. Okay, so next up we have Carter's. Okay. 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 Next up, we have Carter's Vicious Return. It's 2, a black and a red for a saga. Chapter 1 is you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, Carter's Vicious Return deals 3 damage to any target. Chapter 2 is each player discards a card. And Chapter 3 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on it. It gains haste until your next turn. This is kind of like...
This is again like...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say that the art is... It kind of reminds me of like the showcase cards from Ikoria. It's kind of like comic book style art. I really like this one.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah. It's also kind of close to like the Balrog.
Yeah.
Because he's got the sword and the chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shall not pass.
Yeah.
It, you know,
I feel like this one again fires on all cylinders of just like Rakdos wants to do as well.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with you. It feels a little bit like Eldest Reborn, but like the first chapter on Eldest Reborn is making each of your opponents sacrifice a creature, and I feel like that's a little bit more impactful than making you sacrifice a creature and then dealing 3 to something else. Yeah, a little bit of a setup cost when it comes to this, but of course, like if you're discarding a card on chapter 2, ideally you could, you know, reanimate it on chapter 3, assuming that your opponents haven't blown it up, because this is again one of those sagas that are still a threat when they're on the battlefield, even after the first chapter.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Kaya the Inexorable. She is 3 white-black for a legendary planeswalker, Kaya, for 5 loyalty. Her +1 is put a ghost form counter on up to 1 target non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put into exile. Return it to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Her -3 is exile target non-land permanent. And her -7 is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or from among cards you own in exile without paying its mana cost. A little sideboard action. No, it's just exile. Sorry, I was, that was a mistake.
I'm just gonna exile my sideboard here.
Let me just look through. I'll just flip through that quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially if you have that merciless 6 mana.
Oh, from
Merciless Retribution?
Merciless Retribution.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, like the exile spell.
Yeah.
Oh, Eviction.
Eviction, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, combine that with this Kaya, and now you can just like cast anything that you've exiled with that if you get the emblem. That's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. And she synergizes with herself too, right? Like if you get her to 7 loyalty and then -7 her, she goes to your graveyard. Even if your opponent ends up exiling your graveyard, you can cast Kaya at a later time.
Yeah. And the other crazy thing is the emblem isn't like once a turn or something. It's just like you can willy-nilly whatever you want.
No, it's at the beginning of your upkeep, so that's when it will trigger.
Oh, beginning of upkeep.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay its
Okay.
mana cost, which is nice.
Yeah.
Next up, we have King Narfi's Betrayal. It's 1 blue-black for a saga. Chapter 1 is each player mills 4 cards. Then you may exile a creature or planeswalker card from each graveyard. And Chapter 2 and 3 are the same. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among cards exiled with King Narfi's Betrayal. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. Narfi.
Narf.
This can kind of get you a little bit of like incidental value because you only have the 2 turns after, so you want to be exiling things that you make sure that you're able to cast,
Or you want to make sure that your opponents don't get back.
that as well. Yeah. You can use it as like a hate card.
Yeah, in like limited or 1v1, it's kind of like a divination effect. Although it's, in my experience when I've played it out, it seems to perform a lot better in the late game. So it's one of those divination effects that I'm looking to hold on to until later. But it scales really well for multiplayer too, which is really cool. Because being able to get 4 creatures or planeswalkers with this, that could be pretty fun.
Yeah,
I think so.
pretty narfy. Narf. And some of the names in this set. Next up, we have Coma Cosmos Serpent. It's 3 green, blue for a 6/6 legendary serpent. This spell can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. Sacrifice another serpent, choose one, tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. And, or Coma, Cosmos Spirit gains indestructible until end of turn. Wow, guys, I think maybe we blew our load a little too soon on the Simic Serpent live deck build. Am I right?
Yeah, Coma's a house.
Yeah, it definitely. Again, like this is gonna be something that's most likely to stay on the board unless it gets exiled.
Yeah. It's kind of like a tender shoot
And, like-
dryad that's just gonna wreck your face.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about having City's Blessing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need
That
the
mechanic.
city's blessing.
Oh,
You already
boy.
got a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a limited deck the other day. It was a blue-red Giants deck. So kind of like Spellslingery and stuff like that. And then pack 3, I opened a Vorinclex for my first pick in pack 3. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it. I'll pick it just in the chance that I'm able to play it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I picked up Vorinclex. Then I got past the Battle Mammoth, the
Okay.
the mythic
Sure.
mammoth that when it's targeted, or if any of your stuff's targeted, you get to draw a card. I was like, okay, well I'm gonna put that in my deck. And then I got third pick a Coma.
Are you serious? What?
Yeah, I got the draft log and everything.
Three mythics in a row.
Yeah, just
That is nutty.
so either way, I ended up splashing for them.
Really?
But I still went 3-3, so it didn't quite work out. I think I got a little greedy, but yeah.
Oh, but it was fun.
I generally don't recommend putting in what is the exile effect, the Raven's Call or whatever it is.
Raven form.
Yeah, I generally don't recommend putting that in your limited decks, but in like 2 out of the 3 games that I played with Coma actually hitting the battlefield, like my opponent had a Raven form, and I was like, okay, well this makes me very upset now.
Yeah, it's an exile.
Yeah.
We have Maja Bredegard Protector next. It's 2 green, white for a 2/3 legendary human warrior. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. Whew, that's a powerful landfall ability.
It's just straight up value.
Yeah.
Like, I've never had this in limited, but I've gone against it like 2 or 3 times, and it just hits the board. I don't have removal. It's like, well, game over.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. And yeah, and then especially like landfall, like this would even go well in that Omnath deck that I made on the show. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice landfall ability.
Yeah.
And another uncommon
Yeah.
legendary that I'd be excited to brew something
Just
around.
solid.
Yeah.
yeah.
Next up, we have Morit of the Frost. It's 2 green, blue for a 0/0 legendary snow shapeshifter. It has changeling, and you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow in addition to its other types, and if it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it and has changeling. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Pretty neat. It's kind of expensive for like a
clone.
clone.
And it's nice that it
Just
could
being like,
it could target any permanent of yours.
yeah, and then if it's a creature, it does enter in stronger, so it does have the versatility there. So that's where the extra colors and all that comes in. So it's still a pretty good, decent card. I think it's really good in Commander because you can like obviously duplicate some good artifact or something you have out as well if you really want to. So
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to duplicate an artifact, you might as well just go with Phyrexian Metamorph and save some
Why
mana,
not
but-
both?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Why not both? But this is
yeah,
this is obviously
this gives you the options.
yeah, this is obviously more flexible. Yeah, it's very interesting.
You have somebody overwhelming splendor, you can cast this and get another one.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
I
mean.
like that.
That's very
I like
mean.
that. Next up, we have Narfi himself. Narfi, Betrayer of King. Betrayer King. Narf. He's 3 blue-black for a legendary snow zombie wizard 4/3. Other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. And he has an activated ability. Pay 3 snow, return Narfi, Betrayer King, from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's nice.
Yeah, kind of like a reassembling.
Yeah, again, this
skeleton.
is like, yeah, it's interesting because it's also like a decent, it can be for like a blue-black zombie deck. So
Yeah, it could
Did
be.
the snow zombies get +2/+2?
No, they would just get
No.
+1/+1.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Unfortunately, not.
I would have to say like your snow creatures get +1/+1, and then your zombie creatures get +1/+1.
Yeah,
What a noob question. Oh, I'm embarrassed, Narfi. I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Yeah, he seems like a guy that would get it. He's petting that skull.
Mhm.
That's not weird. Okay, next up we have Nico Eris. It's I think the second planeswalker we've ever seen with an X in its mana cost. So it's X white blue for a 3 loyalty legendary planeswalker Nico. Its static ability is when it enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. Shard tokens are enchantments with pay 2, sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, then draw a card. That's a new token type, I believe. +1 is
Yeah, I think this is the only card with shards.
Yeah,
+1 is up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. -1 is it deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn. And its other -1 is create a shard token. So kind of interesting. Planeswalkers like this are always interesting from the perspective that they sort of operate outside of what we've expected planeswalkers to do. And, we expect those first 2 abilities to kind of work well together. And not that these don't, but we also expect them to lead to that third ultimate ability that can be sort of mythically game breaking, not game breaking, but can kind of it is a bomb type effect, and this doesn't really do that.
no. Honestly, it's I don't know. I think initially looking at Nico, I was a little bit more excited than when I actually had the opportunity to play with Nico, and then I was just like kind of all around disappointed. I just found that like the more you invest into X, the less likely you are to use the shard on the turn that you play it. So it doesn't really synergize very well with its first -1 ability. And then obviously, like, the more you sink into it, the more of these shards that you're going to have. So the longer the game goes, the more cards you're eventually going to be able to draw by, you know, pumping 2 generic mana into each shard to scry 1 and draw a card. But it's just such a big investment for such a little payoff in the long run. It's just a little bit underwhelming when it hits the board. It definitely doesn't help you stabilize.
And then also, like, these colors that we're in, definitely has, like, flying. So it's like, oh, you know, the plus is like, well, I still have evasion. And also usually, like, a control deck. And a control deck doesn't want to be using its mana to recast the creatures that you're playing. So
pretty weird, eh? Like, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know why it needs to return the creature to your hand. Like, that just seems bad. Like, never mind the fact that the +1, like, even if it said +1, one of your creatures is unblockable this turn, it's like, okay, whatever. it's defenseless otherwise, right? So I don't know. It's just kind of Nico's looks cool on paper, but in practice is less cool.
Yeah, and like I hope we see more of these shard tokens. I just think in this card they're more like shard tokens.
Yeah. Every time I hear the term shard, I think of shard. Yeah. See how many shards Nico can shard out.
We have Nico Defies Destiny next. It's 1 white-blue for a saga. Chapter 1 is you gain 2 life for each foretold card you own in exile. Chapter 2 is add a white and a blue to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to foretell cards or to cast spells that have foretell. And Chapter 3 is return target card with foretell from your graveyard to your hand. I haven't checked with the Azorius Kaldheim Commander deck, but this probably isn't in there, and I feel like it should be.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, I'm kidding. It might be in there.
It might be in there. Yeah, it's fine. It's a little clunky. Like,
it's
the nice
fine.
thing. The nice thing about the mechanic foretell is it makes your turns a lot more mana efficient. You know, it helps fill in those little gaps where you would otherwise, you know, waste a couple mana on a turn, and that's really nice. But like, to pay 3 to count how many foretold cards you have in exile to gain some life and then get these few extra effects is kind of a little underwhelming. But the last chapter, to be able to buy something back from your graveyard, that's relevant, I think. I don't know, it seems fine. Like, it would probably synergize fairly nicely in a deck that cares a lot about foretell, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way to build around.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And like, I definitely had this a limited deck that had a decent amount of foretell cards, and I still found this card kind of underwhelming for what it could do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The Raven's Warning is next. It's 1 white-blue for a saga. Chapter 1 is create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. You gain 2 life. Chapter 2 is whenever one or more creatures you control with flying deals combat damage to a player this turn, look at that player's hand and draw a card. And Chapter 3 is you may put a card you own from outside the game on top of your library. Now this is some sideboard action.
What? Obviously the third chapter on this card is it's unique and really cool. Being able to like get a sideboard card like is gonna be the next card you're gonna draw. Obviously there are like black tutors that put it right into your hand, so it's not quite the same as that. But again, it's a saga that's getting you value over time. So
yeah, and don't underestimate the power of looking at your opponent's hand. It's it gives you so much information and really helps you dictate what moves you should be making in the following turns.
And then of course again we're in the colors of control, so the more information you have playing a deck like that puts you more far ahead. So
oh yeah. Next up we have Sarulf, Realm Eater. It's 1
Rolf?
it's 1 black green for a 3/3 legendary wolf. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Serolf, Realm Eater. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Serolf has one or more 1/1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way.
This is a really interesting style of like wipe, like a board wipe. Like if you have this in a commander deck, being able to like pump it up somehow and then like getting rid of everything else. Obviously it hits your own stuff too, but it's getting rid of non-land permanents, so it's like everything.
Yeah. He's either a thick boy or you know, leaving behind just himself on the battlefield once he's done removing all his counters.
Yeah. Obviously, the difficult part about this is somebody can see what you're trying to do, and this only resolves at the beginning of upkeep, so it's definitely going to be a target.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a weakness. But how many times have you been in a game and needed a removal spell, and even a game of Commander, and just nobody has one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually how I win. Nobody has it.
Yeah. Me too. We have Showdown of the Scalds next. It's 2 red-white for a saga. Chapter 1 is exile the top 4 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. And Chapter 2 and 3 are whenever you cast a spell this turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Oh, you get lands.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's true as well. You can play them. So this is some really decent card advantage.
Yes. Very decent. Pretty fantastic if you ask me. Like I'm a big fan of this, especially in like a more like aggressive or mid-range style of Boros deck. Like to have this form of card advantage is pretty big game, and just being able to distribute some,
And then you're probably going to be
distributing some counters as like a little cherry on top is fine by me. But
good stuff.
That first chapter is awesome.
We have Svella Ice Shaper next. It's 1 red-green for a 2/4 legendary snow troll warrior. Has 2 activated abilities. The first one is pay 3 tap, create a colorless snow artifact token named Icy Manolith with tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Second activated ability is 6 red-green tap. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Golos.
Yeah, I like that they just took Manolith and made it snow, and we're like, it's Icy Manolith.
It's icy. Mom, can we get a Golos? We have a Golos at home.
Can we get an Icy Golos?
Yeah, I love Svella. Svella is like everything that I want Golos to be, but Golos just ends up being like way too overpowered for my taste.
Yeah, fair enough.
Svella is like the perfect amount of just like fun, like ramp on a stick mixed with some splashy end game. And yeah, I'm a big fan.
Cool.
Spending that mana to make icy manoliths.
Yeah, exactly.
The three seasons is next. It's green-blue for a saga. Chapter 1 is mill 3 cards. Chapter 2 is return up to 2 target snow permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. And Chapter 3 is choose 3 cards in each graveyard. Their owners shuffle those cards into their libraries. That could be fun in Commander. Just everybody chooses 3. But you don't want the player that's ahead to choose 3 unless you're that player.
Well, just to be fair, you choose which cards get shuffled in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, like if somebody's wanting certain things in their graveyard, you can be like, "Ha, it's back in your library.
Get out of here."
Yeah.
Obviously, like I'd only consider putting this in a deck that cares about snow, or at least has like is running snow lands. But even then, like I'd want to be getting my money's worth when I'm returning 2 snow permanents. So you'd have to have a few snow creatures, a few snow lands to be even
to really make it worth it.
Considering this, because of course, like milling 3 is like whatever, is not worth the card, unless you're really desperate to mill 3. but I think there's some better options like Perpetual Timepiece, milling to a turn, but just by tapping. Like that's a nice effect if you're just looking for the mill ability. But yeah, and then Chapter 3. I don't think that's what you're focused on, but it's nice to be able to get those threats back into somebody's library if you're fearful that they're going to reanimate it or reuse it from their graveyard.
I'm fearful.
I'm shaking.
Next up, we have the Trickster Gods Heist. It's 2 blue-black for a saga. Chapter 1 is you may exchange control of 2 target creatures. Chapter 2 is you may exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. And Chapter 3 is target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Huh.
Oh, that third chapter.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, watch out.
It's like a bolt and then some. Not even, because you can't target anything.
The nice thing, like if you're running this in Commander or like, really in any game, the nice thing about Chapter 2 is you could exchange this with another enchantment. So somebody else has something spicy on their side of the table, you could always be like, here, take this, and then they might turn around and drain you for 3, but like whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Next up, we have Vega the Watcher. It's 1 white-blue for a 2/2 legendary bird spirit with flying. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card.
Foretell cards. Ooh, yeah.
It's very good with Foretell.
Works with, like if this is in your 99, casting your commander will draw you a card.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so make sure it's in the 99 because it's not going to draw for itself. Oh, man, Abra's he's going nuts. I don't know if you guys can hear him meowing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Next up, we have Waking the Trolls. It's 4 red-green for a saga. Chapter 1 is destroy target land. Chapter 2 is put target land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And Chapter 3 is choose target opponent. If they control fewer lands than you, create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference. 6 mana to blow up a land? I don't know if I like that rate.
The payoff on this one is huge, though. Because if you're in some sort of deck that's caring about lands, and then you're destroying your opponents and then gaining a land as well, that's another like 2 land difference there. You can probably get a lot of 4/4 trolls on the battlefield.
Yeah, and if you've just been pumping out lands the entire game, like in a dedicated land stack, you could get a lot of trolls, especially if there's a mono white player in the pod.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you're in a commander game, there's that mono white player.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so that does it for gold cards. We're gonna move on to the lands. First up, we have the World Tree. It is it's a land, of course. It enters the battlefield tapped. It taps for a green, and as long as you control 6 or more lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and it has another activated ability for double Wooburg. Tap, sacrifice the World Tree, search your library for any number of god cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And I'm sure you guys have seen stuff, with cards that make, cards that let you play them and choose a creature type, and then they make all creatures that type, creatures that are in your hand, creatures that are in your deck, creatures that are on the battlefield under your control. So, that would allow you to search for you name God, and then you can search for any of those creatures, whatever your deck is full of. And there's a few cards that do that. I think I'm trying to think of.
Maskwood Nexus is in Kaldheim, and it does that. Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking of the blue one from I think Ixalan.
Arcane Adaptation.
Yes.
And then I think there's was it Conspiracy? I think the card's name's. Is it Conspiracy or Conscription? I think it's Conspiracy.
I think it's Conspiracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do that, have some fun with it, but it's also a really great mana fixing for 4 and 5 color decks, because once you hit that 6 land mark, you just get to tap your lands for any mana color. Like I think I would probably rather run this. Well, I don't really. I think I'm thinking of Chromatic Lantern, and there are definitely cases where you should run Chromatic Lantern in decks, but I feel like this card is stronger in some ways. It's not ramp, of course, but and it comes into play tapped, which I don't like. But the fact that it's a land makes it a lot less likely that it's going to get removed. So there's a little bit.
yeah.
It feels a little bit more. It feels a little stronger in that regard, and so I feel a little more just comfortable having it on the battlefield over a Chromatic Lantern.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of if I was going to do like more of a budget 4 or 5 color land base, I would definitely consider putting this in.
Yeah, and notably, like if you're running this in Commander, it would have to be in a 5 color deck, because it is.
That's right. Yeah. So forget about those 4 color decks that I was talking about.
Yeah, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Next up, we have Faceless Haven. It is a snow land. It taps for generic snow mana, and you can pay 3 snow mana. It becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance, and all creature types until end of turn. It's still a land. What is there is there a cost to activate Mutavault's ability to turn into a 2/2?
Yeah,
Is it 2? It's
1.
It's 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I kind of like that better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mutavault will fit into more decks than Faceless Haven, but Faceless Haven's already seeing some play in like mono white weenies, which is putting up some pretty solid results in Standard. It's definitely a big threat. Like after a board wipe, having a 4/3 versus a 2/2 can be a big game.
For sure.
Next up, we have the MDFC dual lands from this set, and things like Bark Channel Pathway, the Simic one with Tide Channel Pathway, or the Blight Step Pathway with Seer Step Pathway. The Rakdos ones, we got Simic, Rakdos, we got Golgari, and Azorius in this set. These are great lands. These were great lands when we first saw them in Zendikar Rising, and I don't really have a lot else to say about them other than that. They don't enter the battlefield tapped. That's fantastic. They're just solid mana fixing, and I've since this set came out, I've really started to put a lot more of them into my decks, both from this set and from Zendikar Rising.
Nice.
Yeah, really good lands.
Yeah, I'm glad that they finished the the playset.
And so quickly after they started it, they're not really known for doing
right?
that. Yeah, there's so many.
They usually do. It's like 5 years later.
There's so many unfinished. There's so many enemy cycles that we haven't gotten. And they also did this in a different way, right? Like we got 6 of them in Zendikar Rising, and then they gave us the other 4 in this set. So
totally. Yeah, even like those enter untapped if you have at least 2 other basics. Like that set's not done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's been around for so long.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or the Amonkhet ones, the cycling lands that are fetchable. We only have the allied ones.
Yeah, the bicycle lands.
That's right.
I want to ride my bicycle.
Oh man.
Sorry.
Loopy.
People love to sing along to Queen, don't they?
Especially white people.
Especially white people. So next up we have the snow duels. So those are, we got all 10 of the snow duels. So they're fetchable, they're snow lands, and they tap for 1, or they of all 10 color pairs, each land taps for, like we have the Boros one, we have the Selesnya one, we have the Dimir one. We've got all of them. They're mountain plains, they're forest plains. They're really solid. They're common. I think, the fact that they come into play tapped really takes them out of consideration for me. But I love snow lands. Like I run a lot of snow basics in a lot of my commander decks. And I think these are definitely playable because they are fetchable. Because we've seen lands like this before, like snow duels that aren't fetchable. But I think these, if you're really concerned about having snow permanence, if you're really concerned about being able to activate abilities that need snow mana, and you're on more of a budget, I think these are fantastic lands for all those reasons. In Commander, of course.
Yeah, and being common, like they're already seeing play in Pauper, especially like Ice Tunnel, the Dimir land, works really well in like Dimir control with Snuff Out. Snuff Out cares about having swamps, and the fact that it has a land type is relevant.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're, they're great and limited for evening out your mana base, but like Riley, I don't know if it was last episode, but you were saying that like the snow archetype in the limited format is a real thing, and these also help with that.
Yeah,
as well.
5-color snow decks are a thing.
Yeah,
especially like Teamer based or Sultai based. Yeah.
I also really like the art on this whole set.
Oh yeah, like the Arctic tree line with the Aurora Borealis.
Oh,
that's just beautiful. Yeah.
Oh man, I had the sulfurous mire just with like the reds everywhere. Is like oh.
Oh yeah. This whole set, the art is just amazing. In this whole set, it's just fantastic. I love the winter aesthetic.
Yeah, I wish the foiling would be done really well because like like the Arctic tree line and stuff. I bet you would look like awesome with the foiling.
I didn't. This is like the first set in many years I haven't pre-ordered foils when I ordered singles for the set, because after Commander Legends I was I was hurt, I was traumatized, and what I've seen online of cards. They don't seem to be curling terribly, and they don't seem to be cloudy like Commander Legends. Like the foils do look really good from this set.
Nice.
I guess it is a base set compared to like a supplemental, which is kind of what Commander Legends was.
Yeah. So moving on to the before we get on to the uncommon land cycle, which is I think where we're going to wrap things up today. I did just want to mention the snow basics. So we got all 5 basic lands in snow-covered form. And what was great this time is that we got 2 pieces of art for each land. So that's really great. In the past, we've only gotten 1 style of art. I'm really not the biggest fan of the aesthetic of this iteration of the snow-covered basics, nor am I a big fan of like the snow cards, the way they're just very, very, there's just a lot of white. They're very light. It kind of reminds me of when Mirrodin Block first came out, and people complained that the artifacts looked too much like white cards. It's just, and it was also shocking because it was like the first time they did that border, so it was just I quit playing Magic. It was a whole thing. Anyways, regardless of that, I am always happy to see a reprint of these lands. We got one a couple years ago. Maybe I guess it's not quite 2 years ago now, but it was sort of right around the time we started doing the show when Modern Horizons came out for the first time, when we got a reprint of Snow Basics. And at that time, Snow Basics were starting to get expensive. Like Pauper was still sort of, it wasn't new, but it was still very, very popular, and that was driving the prices of at least islands and mountains at that time, and those were getting pricey, especially the Ice Age ones, and those are still the most expensive ones. But it's just nice to get a reprint of these. There's one in every pack. Well, there's a Snowland in every pack. It's not always going to be a basic, but these are cheaper than ever. So if you wanted to pick them up for your commander decks or whatever decks, hopefully you have extra planar lenses, because those are getting pricey as well. But yeah, just a fantastic to see these reprinted in a standard set. Modern Horizons was nice, but this is even better in terms of reprint equity.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the uncommon land cycle. So they gave us 10 of these. Each of them is for a color pair. So each of them, they all enter the battlefield tapped. They all tap for a mana of, like the white one taps for a white mana, but each one has an activated ability of 2 different mana colors of the 10 different color pairs. So were there any of these that you guys wanted to talk about in particular? Or just as a whole, I'm wondering, because you guys have been playing Limited and I haven't. Like, what are these like in Limited?
So like the Gates of Istfel, sacrifice it, gain 2 life, draw 2 cards. Being able to draw cards off of a land is always good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And then I also had the Port of Karfel, which you sacrifice it, mill 4 cards, and you return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped sadly, but you still get anything back from your graveyard though. So that one's a little steeper at 6 mana.
Yeah, I find as far as like Limited goes, generally speaking, they're pretty solid, or at least they can be pretty solid. Like Skemfar Elderhall is pretty solid, sacrificing to give target creature -2/-2 and creating 2 1/1 elves can be relevant in Limited. Litiara Mirror Lake, being able to copy a creature you control, but it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter. That one is pretty spicy, especially if you're copying something like a Lindworm, like a Ravenous Lindworm, gaining you another 4 life and giving you a 7/7. But yeah, like overall, I'm excited particularly for like Bredegard Stronghold might look at building some sort of like +1/+1 counter deck in Canadian Highlander. Like I would see that being a pretty spicy ability to have on a land, being able to sacrifice it to put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. Then they gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn. So pretty spicy stuff.
It can be a very big swing.
And Axguard Armory, like it's searching for an aura or equipment card is not always the best thing to be doing in Limited, but it's fine if you have enough cards to support that kind of idea. But in Commander, like having the ability to sacrifice your land to search for like a relevant aura or a relevant equipment, that could be a pretty big game.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And that one's not at sorcery speed, so that's pretty cool.
There a lot to talk about with this set. We did 4 parts, and we just did that because we don't want to do like 2.5 hour episodes. But let us know what you prefer. Do you like the closer to 1 hour episodes, or do you like sitting down and listening to like a 2.5 hour episode? And you can do that in the comments below. You can DM us, you can email us. We should really get like a fax machine or something so people can fax us. I still fax things at work, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? But anyways, that is going to end our Kaldheim set review, but that is not going to end our Kaldheim content. We are going to be back next week to talk more about Kaldheim, or at least Kaldheim related cards, with probably do a deck tech, I think is what we're going to do next week, Commander, if you're interested. And if there are any cards that you're excited to slot into decks that we've missed, you can let us know in the comment section or DM us on Instagram. That's really the fastest way to get in touch with us. Not necessarily the best, but definitely the fastest. So like I said, this is going to end our Kaldheim set review. Thank you all for listening, as always. Be safe out there. And again, congratulations to Thomas for winning the giveaway. We will have that out to you post haste, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, as always, thanks everybody. And the whole free deck giveaway was pretty fun. I hope you enjoyed the deck there, Thomas.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye for now.
See ya.
Cargo Durr.
Turn 1 Soul Ring.